Look at you.
Good
How
afternoon.
are you?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Good. You look bright and colorful. So
Thank you.
excited for this conversation. I am going
Likewise.
to introduce everyone to the brilliant Aisha Stephens. And she is a cultural architect, executive strategist, and senior strategic alliance manager at UKG, one of the world's leading human capital management technology companies. She has over 2 decades of progressive leadership experience spanning technology, healthcare, higher education, and has generated $34 million in growth and guided partnership through acquisition. She was hand selected by a UKG CEO as one of 60 culture shaping leaders out of 15,000 global employees. An advisory cohort charged with shaping the future of workplace culture. She's transformed 1,800 member ERGs into a center of leadership excellence, producing a 40% leadership advancement rate against a 15% industry standard. It's 25 more percent, y'all. Leads a global conference with 500 participants across 9 countries, earning a 9.4 net promoter score. Aisha is in the inaugural recipient of UKG's Build Multiplier Award for creating more leaders than followers. She holds 5 internationally accredited AI certifications and has created a council of AIs on methodology and her methodology. So, first of all, I used to create a council before an AI council was a thing. I'm just saying. So, she sets trends. She sits at the intersection of trust, culture, and AI. And today she's here to talk about one competitive advantage that cannot be replicated, automated, or replaced. Her clarity is catalytic, her presence is disarming, and her strategy is undeniable. So, please welcome to the stage Aisha Stephens. So, Aisha, organizations are racing like at lightning speed to adopt AI, but people are still leaving. They're still burning out. They're still disengaged. So, what are leaders fundamentally getting wrong?
Yeah, so thank you, Bethany, for that introduction. And I'm really excited to be here. And what I believe and what I've seen where organizations are getting it wrong is that they're focusing on AI, the tool, and the tool is something that helps to scale the business. But what they're not really clear on and what they're not focused on is that talent marketplace. And also, they're not understanding the significance and the importance of trust. So we are in a trust deficit. There are so many things that are happening. To your point, there are layoffs, there's economic uncertainty, we're in wars, and then we have leaders that are bleeding on their teams because they've not done the work personally to shore up themselves, to understand who they are as individuals and how that impacts their teams and then ultimately the organization. So, Michael Bush, he is the CEO of Great Place to Work. He coined that trust is the new currency. And so again, a lot of organizations, they're functioning from that massive deficit. And so they're moving forward and automating and wanting organizations to be able to, or their organizations to be able to move through AI adoption. But there's so much fear and anxiety about all the things that are mentioned. And people, as we know, they're hiding in the shadows. They may use AI, but they're using it on their phones and they're not bringing it to their job because they don't trust the change management process. They don't trust the culture. And they also don't trust, am I going to lose my job? Am I training AI to do the thing that I was hired to sit in the seat to do? And so I think those are some of the things that they're missing. And as we know, culture is so important because culture drives impact. It drives the business outcomes. And I think that if organizations dove just went a little bit deeper into what their culture is around AI and holistically as well, then we see greater adoption from the employees because I believe that the resistance is not a resistance, but it's more of a fear.
So, I'm curious on how you figured this out and what gave you this lens.
Yeah, so I've been, to your point, in leadership now for over 20 years. I sit at UKG. I heard Workday being mentioned earlier, and so we at UKG, we have a really healthy way of rolling out AI adoption. And so my historical background of who I am and how I show up as a person, as a leader, and I've been one who's consistently put culture first, understanding that if we take care of our people, then our people will take care of our customers, and then ultimately the organization will thrive, and everything will be unlocked from a creativity and innovation and an ROI standpoint. And so, because that's just naturally who I am, I can see it. I can see it very clearly, and I'm also a pattern mapper. And I love the fact that our certification is called AI agent of change, because I've been birthed to be that agent of change, to not only see the difference, but to be the difference maker and be that catalyst to help organizations and also leaders move past the pain that they're currently in.
And it's not just your opinion, right? So there's research that now that we're kind of a few years in, I think there's more data coming out. And sometimes the data doesn't really make sense because it's just data. And you can also use AI to put it in AI and see what it really means to you and your role in your organization. But
Mhm.
tell us about what you've learned from the research and where are we right now?
Yeah, so there's some research that was done by UKG, and it's called Megatrends, and they studied frontline workers, and so frontline workers are nurses, they're anyone that's really a healthcare clinician, it's manufacturing, it's anyone that's sitting in their seat doing their job, or either being, pretty mobile, or I'm sorry, immobile, and where they're located. And so it stated that as of December, 75% of employers globally are struggling to find the talent that they need. And so when we think about that, when I heard that stat at first, I'm like, we're struggling to find talent, but we know that there's been so many layoffs, and both things are true. And so Gallup also tells us that 70% of that team engagement is tied to the manager, which is very interesting, but also not surprising. So it's tied to the manager, not the CEO, and not the strategy. And then the McKinsey data shows that psychological safety is the single greatest threat of the predictor of high performing teams. And again, great place to work. There's a lot of great research. I'd encourage you to take a look at it. States that when there's trust and higher, or when there's trust, that organizations see higher revenue, lower turnover, and faster innovation. And so trust really is the new currency, and it's the weapon that most organizations, most leaders are afraid to pick up. And for me, it's vulnerability. And so vulnerability is not a weakness. It is literally a weapon of war in this talent ecosystem. When there is vulnerability, people will share. When the leader, first of all, is vulnerable, then people feel safe. They understand that there's authenticity there, so they can be themselves. They're not going to show out fully themselves, but they can be themselves. And then from there, there's the risk is removed, or at least mitigated. And so creativity and innovation, all the things that are really healthy and really important for an organization to grow and to thrive and to beat out everything else that's happening with all of the noise. And so again, creativity is really important, and that is unlocked through vulnerability.
So I don't know if y'all felt that because that is why I invited Aisha to speak at my next cohort. So Aisha, tell us, you know a lot and you have so many gifts, and to choose one is probably tough. But I want you to tell us what you're bringing and what you're going to show up to do.
Sure, definitely. Before I do that, Bethany, I really want to share like one thing. I want to speak directly to the listeners, and I want to lean into the edge, because the competitive advantage isn't out there. It's in this room. AI can generate the report, but it can't read the room. Bethany, you were talking about all of those skills that are listed, the top 10, and emotional intelligence and critical thinking and all of those things. We have previously defined them as being soft skills. And again, Michael Bush calls those power skills. They are powerful. And that is the competitive advantage. That is what AI cannot automate. And so I really just encourage us all to continue to grow and go through that process to firm up those skills that were listed, that were talked about. And that's also what I'm really excited to bring into the cohort that you've invited me in, and be able to share those insights with the leaders, because, we have to get clear on who we are. AI fluency is really important, but if we don't have that clarity about who we are and how those skills, those power skills, give us that competitive advantage, then there's going to be a breach. And so I'm going to come and I'm going to share some insights that I've learned along the way, and I'm really looking forward to that.
Nice. I'm excited. It's coming up too. It's April 18th. I need to move my
Mhm.
calendar like in front of me because I always look to the side and people are like, what are you looking at? So let's talk about what working with you looks like. So first of all, before you answer that question, I was honored to be invited to a birthday celebration for Aisha. And I don't know if you all realize that when people show up for other people, it shows who that person really is. And the people that were at Aisha's birthday, every single person that honored and celebrated her talked about how Aisha's gift is to see potential in them before they see it in themselves, or to give them confidence or help them articulate what they know is inside, but they don't have a voice to say. And I knew she was brilliant, but I had never been coached by her or had never seen her in her environment. I've only seen her in my environment. So I think it just speaks to who she is as a person and the power that she has. I mean, she's this still tiny petite thing, but her power and her voice and the things that she's working on that I don't know if she's going to talk about or not are going to change the world. And I think as leaders or even high performers, leading doesn't mean you have a team. You have to lead yourself. You have to lead maybe your family. You have to lead maybe your community. So I think it's so important that, and Aisha's taught me so many things. She had a situation that she was dealing with, and she said that it had disrupted her nervous system. I was like, what does that mean? I don't even know what some of these things are that she says, but when she explains them, they make complete sense. And I've been navigating without these skills my entire professional career. And I just didn't know there's a better way to do things. So I just want to give you your flowers for a moment because you always give everyone else their flowers and you always build everyone else up and you selflessly don't do that for yourself. I haven't witnessed, and I've been around you for a year now. Um, so I don't think that people realize how special their gifts are sometimes. And I just hope you do.
Wow. Thank you. I wasn't prepared to cry. I knew I was going to have to fight some nerves, but thank you, Bethany. I really appreciate you. And it's been a gift and a joy and a journey to do life with you. And I agree, like that is my zone of genius. One of them is to be able to see people, to be able to see into who they are and to highlight to them what their gifts are, what their talents are, and to challenge them to be able to look at them. Because a lot of times we know that something's there and it's either fear or it's anxiety, or either it is a life script that has taught us that we can't be that person or be great. And so I help to dismantle those lies, that those scripts that we believe, so that way we can really truly function and flow from our greatest potential. And so I coach high capacity leaders who are succeeding on paper and delete and being depleted in private. There was a period in my career where, I mean, like, to the outside world, like I was doing it and I was, and even internally, like I was very proud of all my accomplishments. But when I got off of the hamster wheel, I realized that I was not thriving in all of the domains of my life. And so there's going to be seasons and cycles where, when we're doing well. And so it's not about balance, but fundamentally, like I needed to have a reset. And so I help those high capacity leaders to be able to have the courage to have that reset, to take that reset. And then as I was told by a former executive that worked with me, who actually managed our alpha accounts. And so those are the Googles and the Microsofts and like the big name accounts. And he called me coach with a hug. And so that really made a lot of sense to me because my number one strength from Gallup, and that's my favorite, is command. And so that's where the presence comes from and the decisiveness and stepping up and being that leader and the power in my voice. But thankfully, right next to it is that relator, and that's where the hug comes from, the deep, authentic relationships. And so I help leaders. I've been there before from lived experiences, so that's also why I can identify it, and I help them courageously walk through the steps that they need to be to get on the other side, to get on the promised side of that particular point of journey. And then I also work with organizations to help them understand their systems and the systems that may be benefiting so that way their organization and their people, so we can celebrate it and also give them the mirror to be able to see where there's breaches in their systems and their culture so that way they can produce the real business outcomes that they look for. And then just a couple more. I work deeply in the ERG space. Bethany, you mentioned the multiplier award that I received from Build ERG, and that award was really important to me. I had just as of September taken, I finished my cycle, my world tour working in the ERG world, and then I received the inaugural, so the first award that was instituted about creating multipliers. And so that was really a legacy moment. So I work with ERGs to be able to help them move through a lot of the work that I was able to do within Build, within UKG, to make it a business pipeline opportunity, and also to create retention and engagement and all the things. And then lastly, I am in the process of writing a book about some of the things that I was just speaking about my journey. And so you'll learn more about that. It's not just theory. Again, it's the patterns that I've lived, built, and that I currently teach.
And I think one of the things that you said was you called it dismantled life scripts. And we just had this conversation with somebody else that um, leaders, I don't know if it comes from school. I don't know if it comes from pressure at work, that there's just been this thing like we have to have it all figured out and we have to have all the
Mhm.
answers. And sometimes the culture doesn't support vulnerability or experimentation or failure. And we're not taught in school to fail. Like we're rewarded if we get it right. And sometimes we're meant to feel shame and guilt if we got it
Mhm.
wrong. So I think you were one of the people that said every mentor needs a mentor, and every leader needs a leader, and every coach needs a coach. So I would love for you to just let people know where they can find you, how should they connect with you, where you're going to be at, like all the things.
Yes, definitely. So right now, LinkedIn, find me on LinkedIn. You can, reach out to me, send me a DM. We'll love to get on a call and just have conversations. And then look forward to my website that will be coming out soon. I'll send a notification out via LinkedIn about all the additional things that are happening. But I'm getting really positioning myself to bring more of my knowledge to the forefront. So there's some conferences that I'll be attending. I'll be at the Strategic Pivot Summit that'll be happening in Dallas in the fall, and some others. So yeah, for right now, LinkedIn, and more to come.
Lovely. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So
Thank you.
excited for what's coming for the people, for all the people in the cohort. If you're not in the cohort, you're not getting it. So
Get in the room.
that part. So thank you. Have an amazing weekend. I hope you do something to celebrate yourself and do something that you love, whatever that is, makes you happy.
Thank you so much, Bethany.
Thank
Appreciate you.
you. Take
Thanks.
care.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.